Most people think they know China: skyscrapers, neon, bullet trains, a billion people in motion. But what if I told you that the real China, the one that takes your breath away, doesn't have a single city in sight? What if the story of this civilization wasn't written in glass and steel, but in stone, in river, and sacred smoke curling from a mountain temple at dawn? This is China before the modern world arrived. And somehow, impossibly, it is still here to stay with me. Because by the end of this journey, you will see one of the oldest civilizations on Earth in a way you have never seen it before. Here is the problem with how we talk about China. We compress 5,000 years into a 5-second headline. We reduce the world's oldest continuous civilization to a factory, a flag, or a news story. But China is not a news story. China is a geological event that never ended. It begins here. Into rivers. The Yellow River, called the Huanghe, flows from the Tibetan Plateau across the northern plains of China. It carries so much silt, so much ancient yellow earth, that it turned the color of the land itself. For thousands of years, farmers built settlements along its banks. They planted millet. They raised families. They buried their dead and told stories to their children about the floods, the seasons, and the strange power that moved through the natural world. This was the cradle. This was where China was born. Further south, the Yangtze River cuts a different kind of path. Deeper, wilder, through gorges so vast they swallow the sky. Here, rice paddies replace wheat fields. The climate was wetter, the land more fertile, the culture more given to trade and movement. 2 rivers, 2 climates, 2 ways of seeing the world, and yet one civilization that held them together for 5 millennia. How did a civilization this large stay coherent for so long? What was the invisible thread that tied it together? 3 names, 3 ideas that shaped everything. Confucius taught that society is held together by respect for elders, for knowledge, for duty. In Confucianism, the family is the basic unit of civilization. Loyalty, education, and harmony are not just virtues. They are survival strategies. Taoism asked a different question. Not how do we organize society, but how do we align ourselves with the natural world? The Tao, the way, is not a rule or a law. It is a current, and wisdom means learning to move with it, not against it. Buddhism arrived from India and took root in Chinese soil like a seed finding the right climate. It offered something neither Confucianism nor Taoism fully addressed: a path through suffering, through meditation, through letting go, through the long discipline of the spirit. These 3 traditions did not compete, not really. They layered over each other like geological strata, and together, they produced a civilization with a very particular character, deeply philosophical, intensely aesthetic, and profoundly in love with the natural world. You have seen pictures. You think you are prepared. You are not. The Great Wall of China is not a wall. It is a statement. Built across dynasties, the Qin, the Han, the Ming, it stretches in its various segments. For over 21,000 kilometers, it crosses deserts, mountains, grasslands, and river valleys. It climbs angles that seem to defy gravity. Standing on it, you don't just feel history. You feel the weight of human will. Hundreds of thousands of laborers, soldiers, peasants, prisoners built this under conditions we would call impossible. Many died on this wall. Many were buried within it. Their bones are part of the mortar. The Great Wall did not always succeed in keeping invaders out. History knows this, but it succeeded in doing something else. It told the world and told China where China was. It drew a line between order and wilderness, between civilization and the unknown in a country this vast. That line was everything in Zhangjiajie, Hunan province. There is a mountain with a hole in it. A natural arch minus 131 meters high and 57 meters wide, pierces straight through the peak of Tianmen Mountain like a window cut by a giant's hand. The Chinese call it the Gate of Heaven, and standing below it, it is not hard to believe that something sacred came through it once. To reach the top, you take the world's longest cable car, 6 kilometers, climbing through cloud, and then walk a path that clings to vertical cliffs. The cliff-hanging walkway, glass panels under your feet, nothing but open sky and a 1,500-meter drop below. This place was not designed to be conquered. It was designed to remind you, in the most visceral, heart-pounding way possible, how small you are. And somehow, in that smallness, how alive in Shaanxi province. At an elevation of over 3,000 meters, 5 flat-topped peaks rise from the earth like open palms turned toward the sky. This is Wutai 5 Terrace Mountain, and for over 1,500 years it has been one of the most sacred Buddhist sites in the world. Pilgrims travel here from China, Tibet, Mongolia, and beyond, believing it to be the earthly home of Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom. There are over 50 monasteries here. Some date back to the Northern Wei dynasty. In the 4th century CE, they survived because this mountain is cold, isolated, and inconvenient. All the things that modern civilization has learned to avoid, and all the things that preserve what is ancient. In the mornings, when the mist fills the valleys between the peaks, this place feels genuinely outside of time. The monks who live here are not performing spirituality for tourists. They are practicing it, and that difference, invisible to the camera, entirely visible in person, is everything. Somewhere in Shaanxi province, there is a path so dangerous that for centuries only the bravest, or most foolish, dared to take it. Mount Huashan, one of China's 5 great sacred mountains. Its 5 peaks are named north, south, east, west, and center, and to reach them, you must navigate chains bolted into vertical rock, wooden planks suspended over 1,000-meter drops, and paths so narrow that 2 people cannot pass each other without one of them pressing their back against the mountain and holding their breath. The South Peak, at 2,150 meters, holds a Taoist temple that has sat at its summit for over 1,000 years. Monks carried every beam, every stone, every tile up that impossible cliff face, not as a feat of engineering, as an act of devotion. Taoism teaches that the mountain is not an obstacle. The mountain is the teacher. And Huashan teaches, above all, one thing, that the human spirit, when it chooses to, can go somewhere extraordinary. Not every chapter of this journey demands physical courage. Some demand only the ability to be still. Erhai Lake, in Yunnan province, sits at 1,972 meters above sea level, cradled between the Tianmen Mountains to the west and the old city of Dali to the east. Its name means ear-shaped sea, and from the right angle, looking down from the mountains, you can see why. It curves gently like something listening. This is the homeland of the Bai people, one of China's 56 recognized ethnic groups. They have lived here for over 1,000 years, fishing these waters, farming the terraced hillsides, building their distinctive white-walled houses with upturned tile roofs, decorated in blue floral motifs. In a country this large, Yunnan is its own world, subtropical, diverse, where the latitude and altitude conspire to produce a landscape of extraordinary color. Erhai Lake teaches you something that all the dramatic cliffs and sacred peaks cannot quite teach, that China is also a place of profound, unperformed beauty, a beauty that simply exists without asking to be witnessed. In Guizhou province, there is a mountain that looks like it came from a dream. Fanjing Shan, Golden Summit Mountain, rises to 2,570 meters. Its upper peak split into 2 enormous sandstone columns by a crack that descends hundreds of meters into the rock. On top of each column, barely wider than a large room, sits a temple, one Buddhist, one Taoist, separated by a narrow stone bridge called the Mandarin Duck Bridge, face to face, to philosophies. One peak. The symbolism is not accidental. In China, the sacred is always arranged. Mountains are not random geology. They are statements about the relationship between heaven and earth. Fanjing Shan is also one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. More than 2,000 plant species grow here. The Guizhou golden monkey, found nowhere else on the planet, lives in its forest. This mountain is a UNESCO World Heritage Site not because of its temples, but because of its ecosystems, a Jurassic remnant, a green island in a sea of industrial change. We end where the sky begins in Sichuan province, in the Qionglai mountain range, for peaks stand together like sisters. The Tibetan name for these peaks translates simply as the for girls. The tallest, Yao Maifeng, rises to 6,250 meters, the 3rd highest peak in the entire Sichuan province. This is where China ends and the Himalayan world begins, where Han culture meets Tibetan culture, where the subtropical lowlands give way to alpine meadows, glacial rivers, and skies so blue they seem painted in summer. The valleys beneath the Four Sisters erupt in wildflowers. In winter, the peaks disappear into blizzards, and in the brief, golden windows between, in the clear autumn mornings when the air is thin and the light is perfect, you can stand in this valley and feel, with absolute certainty, that you are in the presence of something that does not need explaining. Some things are not symbols. Some things are not metaphors. Some places simply are what they are. In China, in its mountains, its rivers, its ancient monasteries, and its impossible cliffs, simply is 7 places, 1 country, a civilization that is still, after 5,000 years, in conversation with its own past. I made this video because I believe travel is not just about where you go. It is about what you allow yourself to see. And most of us, when we look at China, see only the surface, the cities, the traffic, the statistics, but underneath all of that, Underneath the neon and the noise, there is a mountain with a hole in it that the ancients called the Gate of Heaven. There is a lake that has been listening for 1,000 years. There is a wall built by hands that are now dust, still standing, still drawing its line between order and the unknown. If this video made you want to look a little deeper at China or at the world, hit the subscribe button, because this is the kind of content I make. Not just destinations, but the stories underneath the destinations. Drop a comment below. Tell me, which of these 7 places spoke to you most? Which one would you visit first? I read every single comment, and your answers genuinely shape what I make next. And if you want to go deeper on any of these locations, the history, the culture, the logistics, I've linked everything in the description below. The road doesn't end here. It never does. I'll see you on the next one.